Hello and welcome back to Learning to Talk. I'm Dayton Bissett. It's been 2 weeks since I recorded an episode, and it's mainly because I've just been, moving to New York and all that. And honestly, I haven't really been doing anything, and I have no excuse to not have episodes out. But we are back, and we're doing it, and we are in New York City, and I am moved, and I am not comfortable yet, and I am scared, and I want to die. But it's been good. It's been okay. I'm alive, which is surprising. I don't know how I'm alive. I should be dead. I should 100% not be here right now with this camera and this mic. And I don't, it's not bad though. It's been fun. I've been having a good time. New York's great. I've been loving it. Anyway, so I said in my last episode that I would record my next episode alone in my bed just to let y'all know how like New York's been, and that's not gonna happen. I found a studio, and it's good, and this episode's very special. We have a fun little guy on it, cute little guy. You're gonna love him. He's sexy and hot, and I just wanna give him everything. I want to give him my life and my love. And anyway, this man is his name is Joe List, and it's a good episode. I'm happy. Anyway, from now on, it'll be weekly. Every week, I won't miss 2 weeks again. I promise. That's a promise. This is a thing. I have a studio now. I have to do it. But I just wanted to let y'all know that I am in New York now, and I am safe, and I am comfortable. I'm here, and I made it alive. And anyway, now the episode. I'm gonna start the episode. I'm gonna go right into the episode. I hope you enjoy it. It's Learning to Talk. We're back, baby. We're back. Yes!
If this goes 1 minute over an hour, I'm fucking flipping out.
Good, as you should. Thank you for doing this.
I'm quite a get, I imagine.
Yeah. No, this is huge for me. I was like so scared to text you. I was like, he's not going to want to do it. And if he is, it's just being nice.
And I don't want to do it, but it's close. I live 3 blocks from here, so that's helping. 4 blocks, whatever.
I think the studio is a good call for me to get people here, like having a set. Because at first it was just in my bed. And I was like, I'm not going to get anyone in my bed.
No. Well, you're a handsome fella.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I've never gotten that. Thank you. That's nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm here to help.
Best guest since I've started this already.
Who are some of the other guests? Am I the biggest guest?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I had Aaron Naylor. Do you know him?
No.
Yeah, and then it's been me.
Okay.
And I'm pretty big. So, yeah, I think you're it was a big move getting you.
Yeah, this is big.
Like, yeah, it's going to make my career.
I feel like I'm really doing, a lot for society here by really helping you,
You are.
So yeah. I'm winning some points.
No, it's completely because this will probably get like 50 views maybe. And I think, that's not going to help you at all, but it's going to help me a lot.
Great. So what is your average viewership on this?
I mean, I do it on YouTube and the Spotify and iTunes and stuff. I've gotten like about 200 downloads off of Podbean, and then YouTube it gets like 60, 70 views or so. So doing pretty well. Yeah. I shouldn't have said that. I get thousands of views for each episode. Yeah.
I mean, 60.
Yeah.
I mean, I could shout out the window and get 60 people.
Yeah, it is growing though, I've noticed. So it's like which is important, I guess.
Of course.
And I think this is probably going to be my most viewed. It's going to suck though after this one to just go right back down too.
Well, you got to take some swings. Get Louie.
That's true. Okay,
I'll give him your number. He loves when people text him.
Okay.
Yeah, get Louie and Burr.
Get Louie.
I'll give you everyone's number. Burr, Louie, Norm Macdonald, but he's dead.
Okay, Norm would be good. I wanted to get Norm.
Yeah. Well, I got bad news.
Yeah. So I remember you in Kansas City. I think the biggest thing that you like said that like made me like super like erect was that you met Paul McCartney, and that's like the only thing I've had planned to talk about because
Oh,
that
great.
blows my mind.
Yeah, I hung out with Paul McCartney. I didn't just meet him, I like spent time with
That's
him.
insane.
Yeah, I mean probably like 20 minutes. It was pretty wild. And I really just stared in his face being like I'm talking to a Beatle.
Yeah. Do you ever like let that get into like your head? Like if someone's like being like mean to you or something, and like you're like fuck you, I like met a Beatle.
It's weird. I don't know. I mean, people aren't mean to me that often. I guess online people are mean to me all the time. Actually, so I guess so. A little bit. I mean, I definitely think of it in my life resume. Like I do have moments where I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I would think about it constantly.
Well, you forget about it. It's weird because like I'll be watching, footage of the Beatles doc or whatever, and it is like insane. You're like, I spent time with that guy, especially like young black and white 1964 Beatles.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. And also, another like slight connection. Louis C.K. and I did. Well, he did, and I opened for him, but we did it together at the Circus Theater, I think it's called, in Paris, which was where the Beatles were when they got told they were #1 in America, and it was the last venue they played before doing Ed Sullivan.
Whoa!
And they were in the green room, and they came in, they're like, "You're #1," and they were like, "Wow." And so we sat in that dressing room. We had I spent time being like, that's crazy. Like this is where the Beatles were. And then, so we met him a couple years later, or the next year, I guess.
Yeah.
It was insane. I can give you the whole story if you'd like.
Yeah, give it.
So yeah, we went, so I got married. Louis, this is, before Louis, pre-cancellation Louis. And, I thought he was going to come to the wedding. He ended up not. Whatever. And then he was like, his wedding gift was to me only. He didn't bring Sarah, but he invited me to go see Paul McCartney at the Garden. And he's like VIP at the Garden because he sold it out 25 times or whatever the fuck. He's there again in January. So he was like, do you want to go to see Paul McCartney? And it's not funny because I had a cellar spot. I was at like the Fat Black Pussycat, like their smaller, shittier room.
Yeah.
And I was so scared at that time still of like losing my canceling.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. I got a spot at the Fat Black Pussycat, which is hilarious. And then Louis was like, I'll text Esty. And then he was like, hey, I'm bringing Joe to, he's not coming to the show. Which is so funny because now I would just, be like, yeah, I can't come, but whatever. So then we went, I met him at his house, and then he likes to put, like, I would have been there 3 hours before the show.
Yeah.
But he's like, let's have dinner. We'll hang out. And I was like, we got to go. It's the Beatles. So we took the subway there. And then we were in the VIP. We went to the VIP area. And we were underneath, like in the bowels of the arena. And the security like stopped us, was like, hold on right here. And then Paul walked by, like carrying his bass with the band. Like we watched McCartney and his band like walk underneath. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. That was actually like crazier than meeting him, was to see him like in I'm about to go out and do a show mode, which was crazy. So then we walked to like the VIP green room where there was just free cheeseburgers, free drinks, free everything. You just grab it and you walk right up and sit in your seat. It was like stage left in the in like the seats there, not the floor, but like the kind of level raised seats. And then we sat, and it was Louis was on the aisle, and then me, and then there was 2 empty seats, and then it was Stevie Van Zandt and his girl, whoever he was with. I don't know if he's married or not. And I was like, holy shit, that's Stevie Van Zandt. This is crazy. And we were the whole time. And you kind of forget, like, because Paul McCartney's playing Beatles tunes, it's like, you can't believe how many hits he plays like in a row.
No,
it's like She Loves You, yeah, and then it's like Let It Be, and then he's playing like Blackbird, and
Hey
then
Jude.
he's Hey Jude, and then there's like Jet, all the Wing stuff and Band on the Run, and it's just unbelievable how many hits there are.
No, that was the best because I remember we were talking about music, and then I was like, you were talking about shows that you've seen, and I was like, I saw Paul McCartney. And then you were like, yeah, I've like had interactions with Paul McCartney. And I was like, what? Because that was like the best show I've ever went. I went all the way to Dallas to watch him, and with like all my friends, and it was just like unbelievable. It was like, I was on like a high for like weeks after that.
Yeah, it's crazy. How long a ride is that? Kansas City to Dallas.
It's like 10 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, we went there and then like to the beach or something. We like made a full trip out of it, but
The old Dallas beach.
yeah, Dallas
that a lake?
Beach. Yeah, I
Is it a
know.
river?
No, I mean like to like Galveston.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like- yeah, yeah.
All right. I'm like,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, the Dallas Ocean.
So we went. So the show was just unbelievable. And then about like midway through the show, an usher like tapped Lou and was like, "Excuse me, you have to get up." And then we stood up, and Bruce Springsteen and Patty Scaffla, however you say her last name, came in. And so like we had to like stand, and that I'm like the big S Springsteen guy.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
yeah.
my number one. That's my dad. And so I had to like stand, and like he shuffled by, and so then I was just like, this is like the craziest thing. And then Patty sat next to me, and then Bruce next to her. So the row was Louie, me, Patty, Bruce, Stevie Van Zandt, and his date, which was crazy. And then McCartney ends his first set with "Hey Jude," and then Patty Scaffla's like filming Bruce singing the Na Na Nas and like turns the camera
Oh
to
my
me.
God.
And so like I'm in like a Springsteen home video.
Have you
which is
found it?
insane. No, I mean I assume they didn't post
Oh,
it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean like
that'd be-
maybe they did, maybe she did, but it's crazy. We're doing the Na Na Nas, and then the usher comes and grabs Bruce and Stevie, so they like pass by again, and then I'm just saying to Pat, I'm like, this is crazy, huh? She's
Yeah,
like, oh, it's
yeah.
awesome. I'm like, and then we kind of were like, oh, there's like a moment, you're just in another planet, sort of like spiritually, and then you're like, that's weird, they left, and it takes me a moment to be like, oh, they're going to play, that's
Yeah.
why they're leaving.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, Bruce is about to come out. Like I just thought, like, I don't know, maybe they had to take a shit or whatever. And so like again, like your brain's not like hitting on all cylinders because I'm in like shock. And then I was like, oh, that's what's gonna happen next. And then McCartney, this is like classic. It's like a stand-up comedy story. He's like, we got some special guests, some special friends. And he introduces Bruce first. He's like, it's Bruce Springsteen and Stevie Van Zandt. And nobody hears Stevie because it's like the crowd just goes insane. And so they came out, they played. I saw her standing there, which was great. And then when they finished, McCartney was like, let's just do it again.
Oh,
like they
no.
clearly just rehearsed one song.
Yeah.
And so they're like, let's just play that one again. So that's the only time I've ever seen this. They played the same song back to back.
Was it just as good?
It was
The
just,
second
I mean,
time?
everyone went crazy.
Yeah.
I felt this way many times at concerts. It's like you're so in the groove and that you're just like so digging it that you're like, I wish they would play that again.
Yeah.
Especially that's like a 2-minute song. It's a
Yeah.
1964 pop song, so it's like a minute and a half long. So that was awesome. And then I don't know what happened after that, but then like shortly after that, a guy came up and was like, said to Louis, "Hey, do you want to go meet Paul and hang out with Paul?" They had met before at SNL 40, and they probably did some other. I think they might have seen each other before. So we were like, great. And McCartney's like a huge comedy fan.
That's crazy.
In fact, he was just at Ari Shaffir was telling. He was just at the Improv. Ari performed for McCartney like 2 days
Wow.
ago. Yeah.
No. Yeah, that if I ever met Paul McCartney, I think I'd be able to I'd like be happy enough to kill myself, and then that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like all I need is if I met Paul McCartney, I'd be through the roof.
That should be the title.
That's
Happy
my
enough to
goal.
kill myself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great album title. So anyways, we went back and we were like, yes, let's go. So we went to the after party and we were the first two in there. It was like, all decorated and there's like food coming out and it was just, we're like these nerds. We were just like sitting there. And then slowly people started to come in and then McCartney just came right over to us, or to Louis, I guess. And just said, hey, and they said, hey, how you doing? And we said, great show. And so the three of us just stood and chatted for a while, for like 20 minutes. Funny story, speaking of which, he talks about how he always goes to the Improv. And then he called the Improv one time and was like, hey, I'm Paul McCartney, I'm going to come in. And then they were like, well, I don't know if tonight you want to come. It's urban night. It's a little dirty.
Oh no.
And he was like, what? And they're like, it's kind of a dirtier show. And then he was like, well, I don't care. I just want to see comedy. And then McCartney said he loved it. He's like, it was great. He's like, I loved the show. It was like great energy. But maybe I shouldn't say this because I love the Improv and they've been really good to me. But it's like, they were like, it's black. McCartney's like, I don't care.
He's saying Blackbird.
Yeah, he loves the blacks. But anyways, yeah. So that was a funny story he told, and then I think we might have talked about this before. But what's crazy is like he's telling these stories, and half the time you're like, I know.
Yeah,
I know this. Like he was like, I mean, he literally was like, yeah, the we made Revolver, and that made Beach Boys want to make they made Pet Sounds, and then that we made Sergeant Pepper based on that. I'm like, yeah, I know all this. And then he's like, after that, he's like, Brian went a little mad, and I'm like, of course.
Come up with more stories, you idiot.
But I did have an in where I had seen Brian Wilson live before, and he introduced God Only Knows as this being Paul McCartney's song. So this was like the question. I was like, I got a good question.
Yeah.
So I was like, he claims that is your favorite song. Is it your favorite song? And then McCartney was like, well, it's a very good song. He's great. And then he started talking about Brian Wilson. But he never actually confirmed that it is his favorite song.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, it's a great song, of course.
It's kind of like an old person now. It reminds me of how my grandma talks, like exactly. My like listening to him on like, he did that thing where you like Google or whatever, and you're like, was Paul McCartney ever? And then you like peel off the rest, and like his answers were just so. I was like, he's hilarious.
He's a sweet boy.
Yeah,
And then he started talking about. I'm trying to remember like the things we talked about. He talked about being a vegan in the 70s and how now like food is available, but he's talked about how like him and Linda would drive across the country and stop at a gas station. He's like, there was literally nothing to eat.
Yeah.
Like you could not get by. It was extremely difficult, and they'd be starving all the time because there was no like American road stops weren't like, oh, here's some sofu. What's that called again? Stove. Big shit.
Hot dogs.
No, what's the shit? Sofu. Tofu.
Tofu.
Is that something?
Tofu.
Yeah.
I
what's
think
that?
that's a food. I think.
Isn't there? What's the shit they make fake meat out of? Is that tofu?
Yeah, that vegan. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
That's vegan, right?
yeah.
Well, whatever
Tofu.
it was, he was just talking about that.
I think.
And
I
then
hope.
he at one point he was like, "You don't seem funny. I'm just taking a piss," and he touched me, which was cool. And then at one point, I felt bad. Like he was telling some story, and then he kind of paused, and Louis started telling a story. And in my mind, the whole time, I'm like, I think Louis just interrupted Paul McCartney.
Oh, no.
And then Louis finished what he was saying, and then Paul paused and was like, but anyway. And I was like this, oh, God. And then afterwards, fast forward, we were outside, and he was like, I interrupted Paul McCartney. And I was like, I know, that was bad. So that was hilarious. But we ended up talking for about 20 minutes, and then he had to go. Like, it was his party. So he's like, I got to go work. And he had a martini. Someone brought him a martini. And that was amazing. And then when we'd done talking, we kind of we saw Springsteen. He's like, "Do you want to go say hi to Springsteen?" Who like is more important than Paul McCartney to me in my journey. Yeah. And we went over, and Bruce was like the opposite of McCartney. He's like a very like stoic, introverted guy, and he knew Louis from Benefit, and he went, "Hey, Louis," like he just didn't seem happy.
Yeah.
Not like me, and he was just like, "Hey, Louis," and then he's like, "This is my friend Joe," and I was like, "I'm just a huge fan. You mean a lot to me." And I didn't even try to like be like, "You're the number one guy."
Yeah.
I just was like, "Oh, I'm a huge fan. I appreciate you." And then he said, "Nice to meet you." And then we stood like three abreast for like a solid minute. There was nothing happening. And then Louis was like, "You want to get out of here?" And I was like, "Let's get out of here." And I was like, "Take care, man."
Did you leave feeling good?
Oh, I
like
felt amazing. Yeah. I mean, because like, Springsteen's not that guy. I think he's more of a quiet guy with whatever. McCartney's so like gregarious. But yeah, I mean, we just walked for like blocks. We were like pushing each other in the bushes, being like, "That was crazy."
That's nuts.
I mean, it was.
Is it worth missing that cellar spot?
Yeah. I mean, I would like burn the cellar down to hang out with McCartney. So that was pretty amazing. Yeah.
That's incredible. I would, I don't know. I'd do anything. The Beatles is like what I think my mom showed me the Beatles when I like first moved to Kansas City. I was like 8 years old. And I remember this specifically because there were still like boxes in our house. Like, so I remember we just moved and we watched Yellow Submarine. That like, the cartoon movie. Course, yeah. And I was like, oh, I love them.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then immediately after that, it's like since I was like 8, I was like just obsessed with the Beatles. And then it like show my friends, and then they'd show me their music, and that's just like all the music I got. It was so it started becoming like going into like folk and stuff. Like I started getting into Bob Dylan mainly because the Beatles, because they were like Bob Dylan's great, you
Right.
know. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to like this guy. And
Sure.
at first I was like, no, and then I just kept, and then it like became like my favorite. Now like Bob Dylan's like my favorite, and it's like, and then like John Prine, and then all that just came out of it, and then
It's
yeah,
interesting.
I don't know.
So you didn't go hard rock from Beatles. You went like softer from the Beatles.
Yeah, I
That's
did.
interesting.
I always, it's weird because like if I'm on like a long road trip or something, I'll always start off like pump up music, like like I mean like Beatles or something like that, and then it just slowly gets more and more sad. And then I'm at, like,
I do a similar thing, and then I have
Yeah.
to come back up again. But yeah, I'm usually the same way.
No, I'm like stuck. Once it's like down in the south, I can't go back to like a woo. I'm like, okay, now I just gotta find the harsher.
See, it's funny because
More-
sometimes I like an in between, and then you kind of get from one to the other. Because the Beatles to me are like, you know, that in between kind of thing. They're
Yeah,
still
yeah.
they're not like hard.
No,
But now where are you at the Stones?
I like them. I never got like.
This is where we just fist fight.
Yeah, I never got too into them, but I wanted to. I love like I mean.
Well, it's not
I
too
think,
late. You're like 11
no,
years
no,
old.
No,
I mean,
know.
you have
I
some
think it's
time.
like their like most popular songs. I just like I mean like Beast of Burden, and I mean like I like Paint It Black. Like,
Yeah, Paint It
I
Black
mean
rules.
just those like Wild Horses, and
I mean, have you done a deep dive on the big four
I
albums?
haven't done a deep dive. No.
Well, I mean, like Beggar's Banquet, and then Let It Bleed, and then Sticky Fingers in
Yeah.
Exile are
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
best 4 records consecutive by any artist, which is
Okay.
I don't even think many people would debate.
I'll try that.
It's like insane how
Yeah.
good they are, those 4 records. So get in. I mean, Can't You Hear Me Knocking is just insane.
Yeah.
And all the, and then
See, I haven't dove in that far yet, and I need to because I want to. I like want to be.
Yeah,
and
you
I
gotta
like
get in
it, and
there.
yeah,
Exile's insane. Like Loving Cup is like one of the best songs ever, and Sweet Virginia and Torn and Frayed and all these. They're
yeah.
unbelievable.
I like that. What's the one? Dead Flowers, but that's like
Yeah, yeah.
Townes Van Zandt or whatever who like wrote that.
Did he
Have you-
write Dead Flowers?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
I love
and-
Townes Van Zandt. I
yeah.
didn't know he wrote that song.
Yeah, and I like his version too. It's funny because like when I am in that mood of like listening to like good music, like I'll listen to the Rolling Stones version, and then slowly like later after time it'll get to like the more like sad and like the Townes Van Zandt. Like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know why I do that. It's like I don't know. And then I'm just like literally like it could happen like within 2 hours of a drive, and I'm like going like 9 hours, and then I'm just like stuck on like that 1966 Bob Dylan, that live album or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
And then I'm
yeah.
like just like I can't listen to anything that's happy after that.
That 66 album, that version of Visions of Johanna.
It's amazing.
So that the only time I had a breakup before my wife, my ex-girlfriend, we were like, in love, the whole thing, whatever, a relationship. And then we were going through this breakup, and it was just brutal, and I never was able to
Yeah.
really let it out. I just
Yeah.
had anger and sadness. And then I remember I had lived with her, so I was like homeless because we had broken up, and I was staying with my buddy Jason Canner, who you met the other night. And he had that CD, and he had a great stereo system. I was listening to that version of Just Like a Woman.
Yeah. Oh
From
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
And the part where he's like, ain't it clear that I just don't fit? I believe it's time for us to
Same.
quit. It like caused me to like
Yeah.
have a breakdown. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah, yeah.
"Oh,"
No,
like
I'm not
moaning.
joking. I went through that exact same thing with that song. Because I thought you were gonna like Visions of Johanna is very like good about it got a lot of gall or whatever. There's like lines
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I'm
I
like,
mean,
oh
it's
man.
like the best breakup.
But then
song
that,
ever.
Just Like a Woman. It's like because it starts out you're really I don't know what he's really talking about at the beginning. I'm like it sounds like it's like going fine or whatever he's like with
Yeah.
it. And then when it hits that, it's like whoa, okay, it
No,
like
it's-
hits.
It's amazing, and the way he sings it, that is so haunting. That those acoustic sets from that time.
Yeah.
And the Vintage of Johanna too is like the most perfect. I was just talking about this with my buddy, who lives in the other side of the country. He's like my best friend, and he doesn't have close friends, and I have close friends here. But it reminded me. He's like, at least you have that, and I was like, I know, but it just makes me miss you more. And it made me think of the Louise, she's all right. She's just near.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
delicate and seems like the mirror, but she just makes it too concise and too clear that Johanna's not here,
Yeah.
which is like maybe the best lyrics ever.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, sometimes you're like, no, it's actually easier to be alone because when you're hanging out with these other queefs, you're
Yeah,
just like, yeah,
yeah.
you suck.
Yeah.
You're not like this person. Anyways, yeah, that rules.
Yeah, I
No
listen
Direction
to,
Home you watch all the
Yeah.
time.
Oh
Okay,
yeah. Yeah.
Thank God.
I just listened to Visions of Johanna from that album the other night because I was on the D train. I was like, I have to do this now because it feels
That
cool.
was my go-to, yeah.
Yeah. The first thing I came to when I was here was the Cafe Wad, just to like look at. Like I just walked right past the cellar. And
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
Oh my God, this is where Bob Dylan started.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, yeah, the Village is still, it still has that feel.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I don't know. When did you start listening to music like that? Just all throughout your life? Like, were your parents like that? Or?
No, my parents, it's funny, it's a good question. When I was a kid, my family was like really into like Billy Joel, like greatest hits, which, what is that noise over there?
I don't know. It's scaring me.
It's a little scary, right? Maybe
Yeah,
it's
it
the
sounds
wind
like
in the
a-
window.
Animal.
Boy, it looks beautiful over there. By the way, it looks like a recording studio with the cowboy hat and the lantern there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's in the camera, but it looks beautiful.
There we go.
There it is. That
No,
works.
I mean, does it?
Yeah,
I
it
know.
works.
I can pull it off from
think
Oklahoma.
so.
I literally when I moved to Kansas City. I had a country accent like at 8, and I was like I had to knock that off like super quick because it was like no one. I got made fun of for saying y'all like unironically like all the time.
Sure.
Like I mean because we were like in 3rd grade, so they were like
Yeah,
y'all.
yeah.
What are you doing saying y'all? And I was like, okay, I have to. But if you like talk to my mom or my dad, they're very much like, anyway, I was like, they're both.
Oh, that's kind of fun. That's charming. I think chicks dig it.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all don't go around here telling me that I shouldn't be blowing my dad, okay, babe? I added Dennis Miller at the very end, but no, I was like a young kid. It was like, I think like Billy Joel, and then Guns N' Roses. Like 91 was when those Use Your Illusion albums came out, and I was 9. And then my uncle got those, and then I got into like Appetite for Destruction. So I was like a rocker. When I was young. And then Dylan, I don't know where. I remember like, boy, the Beatles I got really into. Like Beatles Anthology came out when I was 13. Like they did the whole 6-hour ABC miniseries. But I had already been into them. It's hard to say. I guess like classic rock radio would always be on, and then like oldies 103 up in Boston would be like Chuck Berry. Like it was like oldies.
Yeah,
Then.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
like Rockin' Robin and stuff. But Dylan, I don't know exactly how that came into my mind. But I remember in 8th grade writing a paper and wanting it to be about Dylan. We had to write about a book, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do Dylan. He's like, that's not going to work, and it didn't.
Yeah.
And I got the Biograph triple album that I got really into. That had like Percy's Song and a bunch of shit like that, and Quinn the Eskimo. So I don't know. I don't know exactly how that came about, but it was
Yeah.
like probably like 7th, 8th grade. I got really into Dylan, and then I was like massively obsessed with the Beatles, and then that
Ye-
led me to the Stones. And to me, the Stones are just
Yeah.
a million times
Yeah.
better, just
Yeah.
nastier and
Yeah,
raw,
yeah,
and there's
yeah.
the blues and country. And then, I was like super into Dylan. And then I got into like Jackson Browne and Paul Simon, and
Yeah.
my parents were into Simon and Garfunkel, or my dad at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Dylan's hard to be into because none of my friends like no one wants. If I'm like Dylan, they're like it's just like okay, no one likes Dylan. It's just gonna be just me.
It's
like
weird. Dylan is like it's the idea that no one likes Dylan. You're very quotable. I'm happy enough to kill myself. Nobody likes Dylan. He's sold a few records.
That's true.
But I know, but Dylan reminds me in a weird way of Woody Allen in that, like, I have been obsessed with them as an artist my whole life, and it like shaped so much of my life. But there are people that just adamantly are like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like with Dylan, it's like I don't like his. I mean, it's obviously Woody has personal whatever, But
Yeah.
I think people are just like, I don't get it. He's annoying. I don't think
Yeah,
it's funny.
for
It's just
sure.
like,
Yeah.
and then Dylan. I give it's anti-Semitism, as I realized. It's Dylan, two Jews. But I think some people are just like, I don't like his voice. I don't get it. I don't like it.
For sure. That was what was hard for me to get over at first. But as soon as I like got into, I think it was "Don't Think Twice, It's All Right" that like changed my like mind on him. And I was like, oh, so once you get like past how he sounds to the words, then you can start to enjoy how he sounds. Listen, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like that's the thing about. I was just talking about this the other day with like rock and roll. It's like Sarah, my wife, was like, if you could have any singer's voice, I'm like, I guess Freddie Mercury, because there's not that many rock singers that really have like incredible voice, like Tom Petty and Dylan
Yeah.
and Bruce Springsteen. None of these guys are like, he's got the best voice.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
just own it.
Yeah.
You just have to like, it's just an attitude. Like Mick Jagger is not like this incredible singer, but he's the best singer.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I mean, Lennon was an underrated singer in that distortion, like the twist and shout, the way he could like have that distortion of like,
Yeah, yeah.
and which it feels like an influence on Kurt Cobain and stuff
For
years
sure.
later. But you're like, none of those. Kurt Cobain's another one. None of these guys are like incredible voice guys. They're
No.
just owning it and ripping it.
Yeah. Do you think Paul was the best like singer out of the Beatles? I think he like no, I don't know. I also do like George. I think George is a little
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't say underrated because they're all very over. They're like Beatles, but
I think McCartney probably the best singer. That's one of the things I love about the Beatles is that like there is no singer. They're
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
you just come in with a song and
Yeah.
then you sing it.
Ringo's pretty good.
I love Ringo. I mean, Ringo's songs are some of my favorite songs. He has the best pop song. I mean, I love Octopus's Garden, and
Yeah.
I love Don't Pass Me By. With a Little Help from My Friends is my
Yellow
favorite
Submarine.
Beatles
He does
song.
Yellow Submarine. I
Submarine is
forget
another
that.
one. Yeah, Ringo has great, fun songs.
Yeah, he's good.
He's very good.
He's fun. Yeah, I didn't like prepare anything for this or anything. I'm sorry.
I'm happy to talk music.
I was like sitting in my I was sitting in my bed. I was like, but I think I wanted to. I was like, do you remember when you were first getting into comedy?
Of course.
Yeah,
I'm not
was
that
it,
old.
Was no, but I mean, like, what were you like? When did you decide like this could be like something that I do forever? Because that was what's hard for me.
It's what I wanted to do. It's frustrating. I was just literally just talking about this before I left the house because I was listening to some tunes and just jumping around like a maniac. My Morning Jacket. You into My Morning Jacket at all?
Yeah,
They're great.
yeah,
And there's a song off their newest album called Never in the Real World, and it's one of my favorite rock songs in the last 10 or 20 years. But anyways, I was listening to them, and I was just jamming, and I'm like, my greatest regret in life is not pursuing music.
yeah,
And I realized I'm like, comedy is like my least favorite of the art forms I've been obsessed with. Like film and music, I wanted to be a musician and a filmmaker way more, and comedy was just the easiest in that, not that it's easy, but in that, like, in some ways it's harder than those. But you didn't have to learn an instrument. Like, to be a musician, you have to learn an instrument first and then start creating.
yeah,
And film, too. It's like you have to learn fucking lighting and all this shit.
yeah,
And you got to get 60 people together and raise money to make a film.
for sure.
Where comedy was like, I can just walk over there and do comedy. So I ended up pursuing it because it was like the path of least resistance. But when I'm really honest, I'm like, God, I really wanted to be a musician and filmmaker.
Yeah, I get that. I think music it's like way cooler than comedy, and like
No question.
it sucks because my friend Tyler from back home, he's like going to school for like guitar, and he like gave me a guitar and taught me a lot, and then I started like learning, and I can't sing though, so it feels useless learning to play guitar. It's not because it's like fun just to like, but like everything guitar is like you sing over it, and
Right,
it's like
right.
I can't do that.
Well, I'll come over. I'll sing. What are you,
Okay,
crazy?
sounds good. Yeah.
Don't think twice. It's all right.
There we go. And but yeah, because I first like I wanted to be like Jim Carrey. Like that was like who I was.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I
like
wanted to
my
be when I was
yeah,
a kid.
I was like that's like in like 5th grade we did we had to do like a presentation over a person, and I wanted to do mine over Jim Carrey so bad. and I couldn't because she said no comedians because like they can be like filthy. You can find things that are
What a
like bad about.
bitch.
I know, and then I had to do John Wilkes Booth. So I was like, which is like, she just gave me John Wilkes Booth. She didn't even let me choose like a different. She was like, you can do this guy. I'm like, the guy who shot.
That's hilarious. I
Like-
want to do either Dumb and Dumber or
Yeah.
the guy that murdered the president.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, well, I'm gonna find a lot more worse over this guy, but no, I wanted to be Jim Carrey, and I was like, I'm going to move to L.A. out of like high school or like college if I and I was like gonna be like everything since like 5th grade. I've had this mindset, so I know. And then I started doing comedy, and I was like, oh, this is like easy. It's not easy, but it's just like you can go do it.
Yes,
and, like,
it's doable. Yes, exactly.
And then I was like, okay. And I also like love it, and I have a lot of fun doing it. But I'm not saying because I wanted to get into film more than anything, and I was gonna go to LA Film School, and like just do that. But then I like got scared, and I was like, well, I'm gonna get a degree in journalism instead in case everything flops out. And also I like journalism and writing and all
Sure.
that. But I don't know, that was a way better idea for me. I was like, so what I wanted to do.
Right.
And then
But you're so youthful. You can still change all these things.
I
Don't get me
know.
wrong. I'm still trying to make films, but
Yeah.
So where did you go to school?
I went Missouri Western, which is like it's a St. Joseph outside of Kansas City.
Okay, that's
I mean, I don't know. It was okay.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was weird. It was like you could tell it was falling apart. Like journalism is changing so much.
Mhm.
So they're just like
It's gotten much better.
yeah. It's way better, and it's just, but you could tell like they weren't catching up to it as they were like teaching it. They were like, we don't know where that. I was in a class called social media marketing, where like my 50-year-old teacher was teaching us how like Snapchat works, and I was like, I
Hilarious.
paid a lot of money for this class, and it's like, and then they're literally like, you can just tell they're like crumbling. They're like, have you guys like heard of podcasting? That's like a thing that you can get money doing.
It's so funny
It's
when
like-
we were trying to put together a promotional team for the movie I made, and the guy, they were like, we got a social media manager, and he came in, and I just started laughing because he was like bald. He was like in his 50s. Same thing. He was just like a bald guy, and he was like, "Hey, folks," and I was just laughing. I'm like, we should have a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Like literally,
Yeah.
we should get a teenager
For sure.
to do this.
Yeah.
And the guy had like a button-up shirt, and he was like, "Hello there, guys." And I was like, "What?" And we ended up, letting him go because it was just like, no, like I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm like, we should have my niece do this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
This guy doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Well, that's my advice to everybody and myself. Like, just start doing whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Because I talked about this all the time. Like, when I was in high school, I was like, I'm going to be when I graduate, I'm going to start doing comedy. And I started when I was 18. I was so young. But looking back, I'm like, oh, I could have been doing comedy in high school.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way.
Like, it's just like, just do the thing.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
do it.
I started when I was 18, and it was my first semester of college. And when I always wanted to though. I was like I had that years before. I was like, I want to do comedy. And I don't. Looking back, I don't know, because now anytime there was someone in KC who was like in high school doing comedy, I was like, what?
Right.
Damn it.
No, and I felt that way too. I'm like, I got so intimidated with like all these things. I mean, and part of it's just the way you're raised and insecurity, but you're like, God, I could have been like, I had like a bass guitar in 7th grade, and I just took like 2 lessons, and I was like, that's too much. I'm not gonna be able to learn that. And you're like, oh, I'd be fucking Les Claypool. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's frustrating. I sorry, real quick. I heard a great
No, yeah.
thing on a podcast recently. I listened to, I think it's called Living Well or something. It's some great podcast. But this guy was talking about how he wanted to go to school and be a therapist, but he's like, but I waited too long. He's like, if I started now, I wouldn't be a therapist till I was 40. And then his friend was like, well, are you planning on being alive when you're 40? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, okay. Like, I have that thought sometimes where you're like, oh, I blew it. But you're like, well, like, I am planning on being alive when
Yeah.
I'm 65
Yeah.
years old. So it's like I have 25 years to play guitar or
Exactly.
whatever it is. So.
Well, also, you've already chatted with Paul McCartney, so I think you could.
Yeah,
be
I know
done
Paul.
for
I
and
could
be
call
fine.
Paul. He could give me some bass lessons.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, I don't know. Do you feel like you've, are you like happy with yourself, with like everything you've done and stuff?
That's a deep question.
It is. Should I
mean,
not be asking?
I mean, I'm sitting here talking about these deep regrets I have, but I mean, I can be happy. You know.
Well, I mean, you're huge. Like you're.
Well, I'm not huge, but
you
I'm successful. I mean, huge is like I'd be selling.
You
out
are
places.
big though. Like this is like big for me, and like I think people like back home and everything will be like, "Whoa, how did that?" Like it was also being able to like when I hosted for you in KC, it was like getting that was like big.
Oh,
was
wow.
Like what? And then you talked about meeting Paul McCartney and stuff, and I was like, this guy's like.
Yeah, you're one person removed from Paul McCartney.
yeah, exactly. No, I'm like, you're my bridge.
Which is, it's crazy because you're like, I mean, I'm always fascinated. I'll come back to it if I'm happy or not, but in the meantime, it is crazy. Like the 7 degree, like there was someone said before, it's like within 7 moves you can connect to everyone on the planet, which is wild because you're like, well, I have hung out with Paul McCartney. And I've met Bruce Springsteen, who has a podcast with Barack Obama. So you're like, within 3 moves, you're within everybody that's ever met Barack Obama. Like, think about how crazy that is. Like, that's wild. Like, we could connect to George Bush in just a couple moves. Or Paul McCartney, which is like Brian Wilson, which is Elvis.
Yeah.
Like, Paul McCartney met Muhammad Ali.
That's nuts.
Isn't that fucking...
Paul McCartney's met everybody, I feel like.
Yeah, so it's like...
United. He met the Queen.
I mean, it's the weirdest thing in the world to think about. But anyways, that's like a trippy thing. But no, I mean, like, you know, mentally you go through different things. I mean, I can sit and be extremely grateful and happy with what I've done.
Yeah.
I've been on the Tonight Show, and I've hung out with Meryl Streep, and I starred in a feature film that I co-wrote, and I've performed at Madison Square Garden, and you know, I make a living doing stand-up comedy, which is exciting. So yeah, in general, I'm a happy. I have a happy disposition, but also it's like it is about like I really, really wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to be Woody Allen, and then I just. It's not that I tried and came up short; is that I didn't try.
Yeah. But your movie was great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So eventually, I got to make a movie, which was nice, obviously, and fun. But you know, sometimes in life, it's like that can only carry you so far. It's like I have the memory of doing that, but I am currently not making a feature film.
That's
so
true.
It's that's disappointing.
Well, that's like it's like comedy is like a thing of like you could do something amazing one night. You're like, well, I did, and then like. When you go home, it's just like all like it never. There's not a sense of. That's what I'm like worried about. Is like there's not a sense of like. I can be like, whoa, I did that, and it lasts like an hour maybe, and then it's like, okay, now what do I need to do? And it's like, will I ever like like something crazy happen? I make a ton of money or something. I'm like, well, by then will I be like, oh, I wish I would. I need to do this. Will it like ever end?
It's hard because, well, that's the weird balance. It's like you always have desire, and it's good to have desire, but you want to not get too caught up in the future or the past.
Yeah.
Because you also don't want to just be like live in the past. I can't just sit and be like, well, I met Paul McCartney, so no need to do anything. You know, it's like you want to be grateful and connected. That's why it's so important to connect with these things while you're doing them. And I felt good about that when I made the movie. I was like so in it. I was like, this is my dream come true. We're doing it. But you want to keep doing it. I mean, my dream was never to be like, I'll make a movie and then not make another movie. So, yeah, that's so much of life is balancing in between like regret and planning and being in the moment.
Yeah, it's hard to like. I don't know what it is about like, cause like I'll have very like vivid moments of like, whoa, I'm in New York doing like comedy. This is cool. And then, like, it does just never last long. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not doing anything, like, in this. I'm never, like, I just need, it's all anxiety. For me, being, like, this anxious as a person is, like, it feels like it's been, like, it's just like it's tough, but it also makes you better. Like, and I don't know, like it makes me want to work harder, and like I need to do this or what's gonna happen. And
Yeah, it is hard to balance for sure, but it's also important to remember that you had like the courage to pursue this. I mean, just moving from Kansas City to New York City, just deciding to get on stage, especially as anxious people, it's like that's a tremendous amount of courage. So you should feel
true.
good about that, and you're trying. I mean, that's what can make you feel happy. Is like the majority of people that live their lives either A, don't have the opportunity to pursue a dream, or just don't have the courage to try it.
Yeah.
That's like the vast majority of people are like, all right, well,
for sure.
that's stupid.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that. I better go do this. So you're already ahead of most people that have ever lived a life.
That's true.
And many not because they're too much a coward. They just don't have the opportunity to.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's just like now I'm like at the point where I'm like I literally don't know what I would do now without this, because like I made this like big move and stuff, and I'm gonna give it like I gave myself like until I was like 30, and I was like, if 30 I haven't noticed like anything, I might just try to change something and like restart, like do like try, I guess, actually like pursue like journalism or something like that.
Wait, how old are you now?
22.
Oh, so you have 8 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
I think you'll accomplish something.
That's what I mean. Like, I need to like see progress. If there's none of that, then I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, I think you'll find progress in the next 8 years.
Yeah, we can.
That doesn't even make sense. Like, what kind of you mean, like getting on TV or getting funnier or
making like being like, oh, this will be a living. You know,
oh yeah.
At some like I want to know that this, because I am gonna like want like a house and stuff later in life.
Yeah,
you know?
I think you'll want a house.
Yeah. I don't just want to live in a tiny apartment forever. So I'm like, I gave myself like time to be like, yeah, this is gonna. I need to know this is working.
But starting over at journalism at 30 is also going to be tricky, which is a tough way to make a buck now, too, with all these places.
Or not even, like, if I can get, like, a writing job or something. Yeah. I'm like, that's, to me, that's, like, perfect.
I think you'll be all right. Well, there's a great story about Bryan Cranston, who became successful much later. He just talked about accepting, he's like, well, I've decided to pursue the arts, which is difficult. So he's like, I have roommates. If I have roommates in my 50s, I'll have roommates in my 50s. That's what I've decided. I've dedicated my life to making it as an artist, which is extremely difficult. And obviously, Breaking Bad, or that's the show, right?
Yeah,
Breaking Bad blew up. But the idea of like, well, this is the pursuit is what I'm doing, and it's such a special thing.
That's true. I listen to I don't know, it might have been even on like your guys' podcast where like you guys like talk about like missing the times like where I'm at now, like the earlier stages and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, maybe I'll miss it like when I'm there, like at some point, but like right now I'm just like scrambling.
Well, you miss everything. First of all, human beings have a natural built-in thing to look back fondly on everything.
Yeah.
That's why it's like designed so women will have another child.
Yeah,
it's like in reality, giving birth is like a fucking nightmare. And then you look back and you're like, that was fun. I mean, most people, even the hardest times of my life when I was like bottoming out, there's part of me that's like, oh, that was great. I would just like drink all day and it was fun. We'd had fun.
Yeah.
But you can also like get in tune. You're like, no, I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah.
But so this will be, you'll be like, that was crazy. That was a great time. And obviously, I'm happier now. I have money. I don't have to worry about money.
Yeah.
I mean, I still do worry about money. I'm not rich, but I can order delivery and not be like, I'm out of money.
Yeah.
So that was miserable, but also, like, I was hanging out with friends more then.
Oh, for sure.
Like, now, if I didn't have a podcast, I would not see Mark Norman. We wouldn't see each other ever.
Yeah.
Like Sam Morrill, I've seen 4 times in the last year.
Yeah.
So, and back in the day, we would all just be together every night. It was a lot easier.
It's like, I do, like, that's what I love about comedy, too, is that you can move anywhere and have, like, a scene of people, like, immediately.
Yes.
Like, they might not be the best or, like, most fun, but at least you have them. Because, like, when I was, like, moving to New York, I was like, looking up like how to be fine or whatever, and
How to be fine?
how to be fine in New York, and most people would like be like, you just gotta like go out and do things to make friends, which is like the hardest part. And I was like, well, at least I kind of have that.
Yeah, with
like,
comedy, you're just meeting people. You're
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Yeah, so it's fun. And then you meet people that you're like, oh, this is my friend. And then like 3 weeks later, you're like, oh, this is the worst person.
Yeah,
I made friends with the shittiest guy. That sucks.
That's true. That's a lot of it.
But yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been. I do like it here, though. I like New York. I mean, I'm just like 2 weeks in, but like
That's
it's been-
crazy.
yeah,
And this is New York at its worst, by the way. This is the worst
Is
it's
it?
been
Yeah.
since like 1996.
that's what I keep hearing. I've been having. I do get like everyone was like it's not dangerous or whatever. Like when I'm here, they're like it's not but like at home they're like it's dangerous. But like as soon as I started talking about it, they're like no. Everyone here seems to be like no.
Well,
But
you're
I'm
talking
like
to the wrong guy. I think it's dangerous.
yeah, exactly. No, well, what I'm saying is they're like, in your small town, you had more of a chance of like getting attacked or something like that. I'm
No,
like,
that's
no, I've
ridiculous.
never had someone sit next to me and just talking to themselves ever.
Yeah, no,
Like-
that's crazy. I mean, these people. Somebody said this to me. Like, first of all, I love New York and I live here and I've lived here for 15 years and I'm not going anywhere. But
yeah.
there was somebody said something so telling. That would like, a friend of mine has a friend who's a New York City cop, and he's like, if you knew the things that I knew, you
Yeah.
would move out tomorrow.
That's insane.
I mean, like, there is like crime happening.
Yeah,
it's a fucking
yeah,
city.
yeah.
I mean, there's tons of really desperate people and people on smoking crack and fentanyl, whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
And then there's just regular petty crime, and there's gangs, and
for
there's
sure.
also just like people driving 70 miles an hour on
Yeah.
streets where you're supposed to
Oh,
drive
I
30
saw
miles
on
an
the
hour.
way here, someone almost hit a dog on a moped. They were on a moped, and
Yeah.
this
It's for
lady
sure
got
more
so
dangerous
mad.
here than
Hey,
fucking
oh, yeah.
Kansas or whatever
yeah,
the fuck you're from.
exactly.
But no, it's also it's great.
I've never like ever. It was so like I was like isolated, and now I'm just like around people always, and like I do miss I miss driving already like more than anything.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, that part.
Just
That's
being able to like
that's
play
hard.
music and sing, and I can't do that anymore. It's just like
It's like anything in life. It's like it giveth and taketh away.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
things
yeah,
that
yeah.
are great about New York. You know, we have all the best movie. Like if you live wherever, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't see that movie.
oh yeah, and it's also the first time in my life where I'm just surrounded by like anything I could imagine
Yeah.
is somewhere near here.
No, you can
Yeah.
get any meal at any hour of the
Yeah,
day, but you
exactly.
can also have a guy fucking come on your face while you're waiting for the bus or whatever. You know, so.
That's happened a few times.
But yeah, ultimately, New York it's less dangerous than a lot of places. I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a city.
No, it's great. I am like it does feel cool. Like when I'm on the train, I'm like this feels cool. Like I'm doing. I don't know. It's just it's a fun. I don't know. Everyone thought I was insane for moving here, like from back home, but they were like they just can't. And they talk shit on New York so bad, but it's like they've never been. You know.
Of course. I mean, that's the nature of all the country's problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I remember saying that with like, whenever it was like, you have to deal with like Islamophobia and people are like, oh, these fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I just like live in the Islamic neighborhood. I don't even thought about it. Not that there's not dangerous Islamic extremists. I'm one of these guys that's like, hey, no Muslims ever done anything wrong. But I'm like, my point is, you're just like, yeah, I'm like, there's just guys praying on the sidewalk. You're not.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, this is annoying. I can't get around here.
yeah.
I'm not like, ah. It's the same as any other. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of people in the middle of the country that are like these fucking queers, and then you're just like, oh, that's Mateo. He's cool.
Yeah.
I think a lot of like lack of exposure to things makes people think it's crazy.
For
And
sure.
also, you're like, if I just watch New York City on Twitter or whatever, I'm like,
Yeah.
this is insanity.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, I'm at home, living in the city,
Yeah.
looking at Twitter, being like, this is insanity.
For sure.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't get on the subway at night.
Yeah. They made it seem like I was going to move here and just get mugged so much. Like they were like, carry a fake wallet, carry like definitely get like a taser or something like that. I'm like, I probably should.
Yeah.
But I mean, I haven't felt, I don't know, that scared yet. But it has been, there's been moments where I'm like, this is definitely out of my comfort zone. Like I'm not used to this at all.
Yeah, I think it's more just like kooky guys yelling in your face, or
For
maybe
sure.
like there's not. I don't think there's a lot of like stick 'em up.
Yeah.
I think there's less of that,
Yeah.
but more than there was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So
not making eye contact is like the hardest part for me, because I always, every time you hear screaming, you're just like,
Yeah.
what's happening? And I keeping like my head down has been like rough.
yeah, you're gonna be.
I'm
just
also
fine.
like pick onable,
Yeah.
Like,
No, I want to like beat you up.
yeah, you can.
You know what I mean? You're just like, there's not that many people I meet that I'm like, I could beat the shit out of this person. So it's exciting.
You definitely could.
Where are we on time? Because I'm about to piss my pants. Can I take a break?
We're done.
Oh, we're done.
I think this is good.
Great.
It's been 53 minutes. I think that's about.
Well, sometimes I get excited. I drink a big full cup of tea.
Yeah.
Then I had a big smoothie, spinach, blueberry smoothie, and then
Whoa.
another cup of tea.
That's good.
And that's all I've consumed. So
I
my
drink
bladder
this
is
orange
erupting.
juice.
Oh, nice. You drink half an orange juice.
Yeah.
That's something.
Got a donut. What's the donut place?
Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah. Got it there.
You guys have Dunkin' Donuts in Kansas
yeah,
City, right?
we
Okay.
have it. Yeah.
Started in Quincy, Mass, baby. What?
Whoa.
Oh, look at that! The fucking Pats game is on. This is fantastic. This is hilarious. It's like I'm like pontificating about art, and I'm like, well, the thing about Dylan, and I'm like, the fucking Patriots are on.
I was like, I think I'm happy. Patriots.
There's a great moment in the movie Comedian. I'm sure you saw Comedian.
Oh yeah, I watched it just the other night.
Where Jerry
The first
talks
time.
about going to Long Island, and he's like, it's everything you've tried not to be, but deep down still are. That's how I feel about Boston. I try to like fancy myself like an intellectual,
Yeah.
and then like fucking, Bailey Zappi throws a pick. I'm like, you fucking homo, you fucking queer. Anyways, I got to pick. I'm in pain. My dick
we're
hurts.
done.
I have
We're
to
done.
piss about my dick hurts.
Learning to talk. Where are you gonna be? You wanna?
I'm going to tell these 40 people. You can find me, subscribe to my YouTube and Comedian Joe List. I got a big date in Chicago, Park West, March 2nd. It's a huge theater that I can't fill.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be.
You're going to be punched in the face if you don't wrap this up.
All right, that's it. Thanks.
Oh, you can plug your face.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Oh, God.